Welcome back to Living Intentionally. I'm Holly. This episode is reflecting on your identity. When you step back and take a good look at yourself, what do you see? Over the course of time, we all change. Our identities change. We wear many hats, and those hats change. Our identities are wrapped up in many things like our career, our family, school, sports, and our hobbies. Sometimes that identity lifts us up, and sometimes that identity can bring us down. My identity has changed over time and continues to change. One of the reasons that I wanted to start this journey of living intentionally is to find my new identity. Certainly, our identities change as we enter different stages of our lives. Many of us can identify as parents. When I was a new mom, I was overwhelmed with teaching and raising my family. So my husband and I decided that I'd stay home for a while to raise the kids. I thought, perfect. But then I began to lose myself. My identity was unclear. So I decided to finish grad school, go back to teaching, and I was so happy. Very busy, but very happy. Fast forward a few years, and I had another shift. I needed foot surgery. Our kids were both away at college, so that was very different, and I was having complications with my foot. I had surgery, and the surgery didn't go well. Lots of complications, lots of pain, and again, another surgery. I was unable to drive for more than 6 months. I couldn't exercise because I had a cast and then a boot. I gained weight, and that led me to being depressed and not wanting to do much of anything. Finally, my foot healed, and I could move and I could exercise. I remember at first I would just ride my bike around the house. The way our house is situated, you can see most of the block from different windows. So I'd tell my husband, I'm going out to ride my bike. Please watch if I fall over and come help me, come pick me up. As I reflected on that personal battle, I felt it was trivial. I felt that I was being self-centered. And so I needed to shift my identity intentionally. I wanted to make little positive changes. First of all, being nicer to my husband, who had literally taken me everywhere for 6 months, intentionally being a better friend. And another positive that it was a product of this time was a group that I created called Party with a Purpose. I invited my neighbors and friends over, and we had a party. We donated money or small items to a local charity. We had a purpose. We did this once a month, and we continue to do it once a month and have been doing it for about 9 years. No, this isn't earth-shattering, but by intentionally doing something good, I shifted my perspective. I shifted my identity. I told myself I was healthy and that my identity should reflect that. My next identity shift was when my husband passed away, as I shared with you in a previous episode. I was very lost. I had to intentionally try to figure out how to live. My grief counselor said, don't let your tank get empty. When your tank is empty, you are no good to those that need you. Such good advice. I allowed myself to gain strength. This was a slower process, but I did find my new identity. I learned who I was in this new stage of life. A while ago, I listened to a podcast by Anderson Cooper, All There Is with Anderson Cooper. It's a podcast exploring grief and loss. One of his guests was a grief counselor. She had recently lost someone that she loved and was talking about this roadmap of grief. There really isn't one. Everybody goes through grief in a different way at a different time, but we all go through it. And your grief journey is going to be different. This is a really good podcast if you need more guidance on your grief journey. So now, my current identity shift, retirement. When you retire, you get to be free, but you give up something for that so-called freedom. We give up our work identity. In retirement, I felt like I didn't have a defined purpose anymore. I did take some time to rest and relax. I also got a hip replacement, and I became a grandmother. That's a wonderful new part of my identity. But now what? How will I make my life intentional? I wanted to use my talents to bring a little bit of joy to the world around us. And I began to write, Living Intentionally. What happens at school or work, or what your dreams or ambitions are, may not be evident to those around you. When I went back to teaching, my children were still quite small, and like most children, really, most people, they were very consumed with their own lives. I was working in my classroom over the summer preparing for the fall. I brought my children with me, then they were 5 and 7, and we're in my classroom. They drew on the board and played games as I got things organized. As I sat down at my desk, my son looked up and asked, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm doing paperwork at my desk." His little eyes got really wide and he said, "You're the teacher?" Yes, I'm the teacher. My identity to him was his mom, which is awesome. He had no idea that I was the teacher, but that's okay, right? But as our kiddos grow up and start to realize that we do things and did things in the decades before we had children, our children move into their own adult identity, and they can begin to see us, their parents, in a broader way as we begin to see them and their new identity as they grow and mature. We should all try to find out new things intentionally about the people in our world. Ask your family and friends to share changes that they've gone through, good and bad. What life shifts have brought you to where you are today? And did you move through these stages intentionally? How will your identity change over the next year or the next decade? Share with me. Put your identity changes in the comments. Share with us the twists and the turns that you have taken on this journey that we all call life. Until next time, I hope that you are a little lighter. I hope you have a smile on your face. And until we meet again, live your life intentionally with peace in your heart and reach for joy.